World War I was one of the most tragic wars of all time. It began in the year of 1914, involving most countries in Europe and even more countries across seas. Within the 4 year time period, there were four major battles that involved the Canadians. Without a doubt, they were all significant in creating peace and freedom within the nations. There was the Battle of Ypres, Somme, Vimy Ridge, and Passchendaele. However, I believe that within these battles, one of them stood out the most in terms of shaping Canadian identity. Within the next couple of minutes, I will be examining and analyzing each of the battles and come up with an unbiased, respectful conclusion. First, let's take a look at the Battle of Ypres. It began in 1915 in the town called Ypres, situated in Belgium. This battle was interesting in the fact that it involved chemical warfare. Although it was outlawed by international agreements, meaning it was illegal, the Germans showed no signs of remorse. This sparked a sense of severe anger within the Allied countries, which was a form of nationalism, creating patriotic feelings. Although the chlorine gas killed over 6,700 soldiers, the Canadians returned with reinforcements that wiped out German lines. This battle gave Canadians a sense of pride and honor. The use of deadly gas was introduced in this fight, and there were no doctors or types of medicine to heal the wounded. It is hard to imagine how brave and courageous the soldiers must have been to continue on fighting. This shapes Canada as being a solid, united country that will never back down to any sort of enemy. Next, there was the Battle of Somme. It took place in France near the Somme River. Since the beginning of World War I until the summer of 1916, the British and the French had 2 years of stalemate. This means both sides made no progress since the origin of the battle. When the Canadians arrived, the Allied troops launched a massive attack. It was not the most successful and resulted in over 24,000 Canadian soldiers and a total of 1.25 million combining both sides. The Allied generals believed that tactics used in previous battles would work, but only ended up causing more deaths. Only 13 of 14 kilometers of land was recaptured, by far one of the deadliest battles of World War I. This shaped Canadian identity in a population standpoint. The soldiers who had their families across seas showed pride in fighting. Even countries like Germany could not understand how we Canadians managed to win the Somme battle. Not only did we provide military support, farmers and government workers in Canada showed their roles of support by donating food and supplies to France. This Canadian identity that was built was unique in a way where we seemed to never back down in any sort of situation. Let's take a look at the Battle of Vimy Ridge. It began on April 9th, 1917. Again, the Germans had taken over the rightful land of France. The Allies could not take over the ridge for 2 years now, as the enemy had control of vision. The moment an Allied troop was spotted, they were shot down by hundreds of machine gun bullets. When the Canadians arrived and was notified of this, they knew that without an intelligent plan, the war may be lost. An intelligent Canadian general named Arthur Currie developed what was called the leapfrog technique. He tricked the Germans into a plan that involved smokescreen. When the black smoke was perfectly timed to rattle the enemy's forces, the Canadians advanced a couple hundreds of meters, and when the fog was just about to fade, they relaunched another set. They continuously did this to defeat the Germans and resulted in a victory. This battle was extremely significant in shaping Canadian identity. Without the Canadians' brilliant tactics, the Allies would not have been successful enough to win the land. This could have potentially led to the Germans having part of Vimy Ridge. The possibility of this is uncertain, but what is the Canadians did have a huge impact on World War I through their intelligence and bravery, as shown in the Battle of Vimy Ridge. Finally, I would like to examine the Battle of Passchendaele. It began on October of the year 1917. This battle was interesting in the fact that it had a lot to do with the environment. When the Germans misfired their cannons, they ended up creating huge holes in the ground that got filled up with mud. These holes were said to be many feet long. The weather did not comprehend well to the situation, and there were mice, diseases, and troops had trench foot for the entire course of the battle. Because of this, the French and British thought that it was impossible to advance a line to victory.
Canadian generals democratically gave their part in why it was a mistake to back down and ended up taking over the Germans on the bridge of Passchendaele. Its Canadian identity, as again, it shows the determination of Canadians in the war. All the other allies were in agreement to give up the land to Germany. However, General Currie and his men suggested otherwise. It must have been extremely difficult to have the lives of those on the other allies' countries in their hands, but Canada's confidence is what truly shined through in the end. So, which battle did shape Canadian identity the greatest? I have to say that the Battle of Vimy Ridge. It was particularly special in that it had every single other battle's points of shaping identity, yet it was the one with the most significant plot. Imagine Vimy Ridge being a part of Germany today. Some may argue that without the Canadians, all the other battles would have been lost. However, all the other battles were not 100% dependent on the Canadians. Vimy Ridge was only successful because of well thought out plan, not just the bravery of soldiers giving their lives. Not only does it shape the relationships France has with other countries, think about all the protests and arguments the two countries would have in debating which country deserves the land. In my opinion, this battle shaped Canada as being the peacekeepers, as being the stormtroopers, and being important in World War One.